ways to deal with going through a reference section and then doing fun things like this, saying where in the document the reference is. And we've looked at highlighting specific references in the list. So now I want to look at a little bit of a different way of analyzing it. So here we also have the highlighting of specific things like showing the abstract. But top right we have key authors, and this is for the 7 hypertext reference section there. If you tap on key authors, you get a list of whatever the user has defined as key authors in the field, so that they can automatically do things like, as you can see by the controls at the bottom, if you tap there, show connections, you can see where these key authors are listed, if they're listed at all. I can turn that off. Now we tap on that again and we close that. And just want to show we can of course choose how to organize and sort the reference section. So that was before the meeting today. And then after the meeting, I've been looking at this a little bit because Dini was talking about what the research questions would be when you look at a paper. So for instance, this is for someone who sits down at the computer, they want to check on a student paper. So they have specific criteria. For example, does this paper cite canon, avoid bad authors, and so on. So this view, meaning collection of things, loads. And in one example, you can see here, this is without opening like you saw before and revealing what's inside canon, Washington State, and so on, points to where these things are. And here, we had to look at one of the categories, the authors to avoid, just decided in interaction to turn that off because that is not important, so it's a bit spindlier. The timeline, just to go back, in this view would be something you would slide and things would move around. I haven't defined that any further. But here's an alternative way of doing it. You can have these lists floating around wherever you want them to be, and any documents that fit the criteria are listed underneath them like this. And you could maybe tap on them to see where in the main reference section they are. Maybe they will state how many of each there are. So in the canon 6 are used, but it's hidden like this. Maybe that's enough. Someone just wants to know if there's enough used. Washington State, do you see that's been opened and it shows 2. And then on the avoid authors, an example of interacting with the heading to copy the list. For instance, maybe in this context, the user, me, being a teacher of this person, I want to copy the list to email them back saying, look, you use these authors here that aren't good, or these papers that aren't good. Please just, don't do that. So these are just different ways to go through to do the things that you would do to review a paper. And here's another example of just choosing the basic ordering of the list. Maybe you can have it by order of appearance, and then another sub option which show headings or not. Then you have the option for alphabetical, a timeline view, and citation map. These are quite different. So the first two are a bit obvious, but it would change the view on this. But this could work in conjunction with having these kinds of magnets floating around in the space. So I hope we can further experiment to experience what would make sense in a community with all of these different elements. Anyway, thank you very much for having a look.